Ragna, the new frontier noble, struggles through endless paperwork, wondering why administration dominates a world of swords and sorcery alike. Sebas explains most estate workers died in battle, leaving Ragna responsible for rebuilding daily operations despite his inexperience as lord. The harsh frontier faces constant monster attacks and border conflicts, earning a reputation as the dumping ground among neighboring nobles. Ragna's father and older brothers excelled only in combat, making his administrative talent an unexpected strength within the family estate. Raised since childhood against monsters and enemy soldiers, Ragna survives after losing his family in war, determined to protect everyone. As the only surviving son, Ragna unexpectedly inherits the frontier territory and accepts the burden of leading his family's struggling domain alone. Although he dreamed of becoming a carefree adventurer, Ragna is reminded that his responsibility as the young lord comes first. The frontier possesses abundant natural resources and valuable monster materials, attracting merchants and creating opportunities for future prosperity despite constant danger. Unfortunately, farming invites invading armies, while mountain development draws powerful monsters, leaving the territory with limited self-sufficiency and difficult choices. Realizing his position, Ragna heads to the royal capital's academy, hoping to gain support and secure his territory's future. Ragna prepares to attend the royal academy, hoping to earn support from noble heirs, though he doubts his ability to handle political relationships. While considering ways to avoid enrollment, Ragna is interrupted when Sebas arrives with an urgent matter requiring his immediate attention. Sebas informs Ragna that a noble family has unexpectedly sent him a marriage proposal, leaving the young lord completely surprised. Although marriage proposals are common for territorial lords, Ragna learns previous fiancés rejected his late brothers because they disliked the frontier. Hearing the proposal's background, Ragna questions the family's motives while returning to his mountain of paperwork with growing suspicion. Ragna accepts that academy life will divide his time between studying in the royal capital and managing the frontier during long vacations. Overwhelmed by endless responsibilities, Ragna asks Sebas to reject the marriage proposal, believing he has no time for a wife. Sebas reveals the proposal comes from the powerful Duchy of Oldwood, the family's greatest supplier of food and weapons, shocking Ragna. Remembering Oldwood's noble rank, Ragna suddenly recalls important knowledge about this world's original story and grows increasingly concerned. Forgotten memories from his past life resurface, making Ragna realize the marriage proposal could completely change his future and destiny. Ragna realizes he is a reincarnated person, whose forgotten memories reveal this world as the setting of an otome game he once played. Remembering the game's story, he recalls a commoner heroine entering the Royal Academy and becoming involved with several noble love interests. He also remembers the kingdom eventually descending into chaos, turning the royal capital into a battlefield before the story reaches its conclusion. Ragna identifies Alicia, the gifted daughter of the Oldwood family, as the game's notorious villainess and the prince's fiancée. Although Alicia possesses remarkable talent and noble status, the game portrays her as cruel, causing Ragna to worry about the future. Alicia constantly bullies the heroine despite her outstanding talent. Yet the heroine steadily grows closer to the prince while enduring every hardship. Eventually, Alicia challenges the heroine over the prince, suffers a crushing defeat, and immediately loses her engagement to the royal heir. After the scandal, Alicia is sent away to marry a frontier noble family, where she is expected to spend the rest of her life. Ragna suddenly realizes the frontier family mentioned in the game's ending is actually his own household, leaving him completely stunned. Remembering Alicia's terrible reputation, Ragna fears marrying her would bring endless trouble to his peaceful life. Ragna imagines a miserable future where Alicia constantly mistreats him, making the arranged marriage seem like an unavoidable disaster in his eyes. Sebas informs him Alicia will arrive soon and later attend the Royal Academy together with him, leaving Ragna feeling completely overwhelmed. Wondering why such a distinguished noblewoman is being sent away, Ragna learns the royal family simply wants to remove her after her disgrace. Sebas reminds Ragna that everyone remaining in the brave territory works tirelessly despite heavy wartime losses, keeping the frontier alive through determination, accepting his responsibility. Ragna resolves to strengthen himself and prepare for Alicia's arrival and the challenges ahead. Alicia arrives at the brave territory where Ragna and Sebas quietly welcome the former prince's fiancée to her new home. Stepping from her carriage, Alicia carries herself with calm dignity, though the burn scar across her face immediately catches Ragna's attention. Startled by her appearance, Ragna accidentally reacts, causing Alicia to believe he sees her the same way everyone else always has. Instead of judging her, Ragna gently asks about the scar, explaining that such injuries are common among people living on the dangerous frontier. Alicia is left speechless by his unexpected response. Realizing Ragna views her scar as something ordinary rather than shameful. Ragna realizes Alicia's facial burn likely came from her duel, explaining why he treats the injury as an ordinary wound, rather than something shameful. Alicia remembers how everyone mocked her scar and believed her ruined appearance made her fit only for a life of disgrace. Ragna notices Alicia arrives with only a small carriage, a single suitcase, and no personal attendants, surprising him for a duke's daughter. Observing her lonely arrival, Ragna quickly understands she was abandoned by her family and sent away without proper care or respect, seeing Alicia's hopeless expression. Ragna compares her to a defeated soldier who has completely lost the will to resist her fate. Ragna notices Alicia behaves far more quietly than expected, abandoning his assumption that the infamous villainess would act arrogantly from the beginning. As he offers to show her room, Alicia unexpectedly steps closer and brushes the dust from his shoulder with gentle, careful movements. Ragna realizes Alicia was only concerned about his appearance, while she calmly apologizes after noticing his worn clothing instead. Her thoughtful actions leave Ragna confused, making him question whether the cruel villainess from the game truly matches the woman before him. Suddenly, Ragna notices a sinister demon bug attached to his clothing, a cursed creature born from lingering hatred that threatens its victim's happiness. Ragna realizes Alicia endured countless demon bugs born from others' hatred, yet she remains calm despite suffering that would drive most people insane. Thinking carefully, Ragna questions whether Alicia truly started the duel herself, suspecting the original game's story may have distorted the truth. He concludes the otome game's world twisted events for convenience, while both he and Alicia became victims of a predetermined fate. Remembering the original ending, Ragna recalls Alicia eventually becoming a monster whose revenge destroys the entire Brave territory, including himself. Refusing to accept that future, Ragna decides to help Alicia change her life and prevent the tragedy awaiting them both. Ragna decides that, since both of them face the same doomed future, he will stay optimistic and eliminate whatever threatens Alicia's happiness. Hearing his determination, Alicia quietly reveals she also wants to fight against the cruel fate imposed upon her by the world. Ragna warmly reassures Alicia that he will do everything possible to help her overcome the hardships awaiting their future together. His carefree smile surprises Alicia, stirring unfamiliar feelings as she realizes nobody has treated her with such kindness for a long time. While Ragna walks ahead confidently, Alicia watches silently, wondering why this strange young lord has begun changing her heart. Alicia had remained soft since arriving at the Brave household, keeping to her chamber and avoiding any dispute. Meanwhile, odd disturbances began appearing in the hall's small dark shapes, darted quietly through the air. Ragna, irritated, spent his time exterminating demonic insects that had invaded the manor, using sorcery to fend them off. He appealed to Sebas for aid, swamped by their increasing numbers. Staring out the window, he thought regarding tracking their origin while ending the threat himself. Ragna reflected on his raising, where combat abilities took priority over social dignity. Alicia's aura puzzled him deeply. Soft reassurance, though Ragna questioned what it meant to live like an ordinary youth. Determined to try something different, he approached Alicia's chamber alongside a plan in mind. He proposed they eat breakfast together, inspired by the Academy's drink party tradition. Alongside cheerful energy, he called for her to join their breakfast food. Ragna's pounding startled Alicia, who rushed to the door, flustered yet unharmed. They sat down together for breakfast, the air somewhat anxious yet composure. He assured her that any damage could be fixed, urging her to focus on the food instead. Alicia hesitantly sipped her brew, plainly unsure of the unknown flavor. Unable to hide her response, she confessed it was her first time tasting brew and preferred drink. Ragna apologized for not offering drink while added sugar to ease its bitterness of the brew. Alicia took another sip, surprised by the sweetness, while said she could drink it that way. They continued their food in quiet, each eating at their own pace. Curious, Alicia asked regarding his provisions, only to learn it was cooked monster meat. Described it was ordinary for his household, though the taste wasn't particularly pleasant. Alicia questioned why Ragna took on so many tasks himself, curious regarding his reasons. He described that their household was short-handed, many had fallen during battles, leaving him to manage solo. Her response was soft yet thoughtful, gradually grasping the weight he carried. He shared a central belief of the Brave household: loss without death held no shame. What truly mattered was enduring hardship while always rising again following every rest. Ragna softly reached toward Alicia's confront, brushing away her hair without delay. He spoke alongside sincerity, expressing admiration while pride in her resilience. Despite her mark smiling, he revealed his own scar, a symbol of survival he carried openly. Explaining his habit out of tending soldiers, he invited her to step outdoors together. Though the territory was rough, he offered a walk across its soft beauty. Alicia stood in quiet, swamped by how small human struggles felt against the vastness of essence. She at last agreed to join the walk, asking Ragna to lead her through the territory. They ventured inside the open wilderness, alongside mountains rising in the afar. Soon, fatigue set in while Alicia regretted underestimating the journey. Surprised by the trail's difficulty, she realized no one mentioned the road led this deep. They arrived at the Udana mountain range, a vast resource-rich area bordering the Brave territory. Alicia had pictured visiting a quaint town alongside local specialties, not a raw wilderness. Their destination wasn't a tourist spot yet, a rugged settlement where explorers gathered to hunt beasts. Ragnar recalled hearing somebody once bet on his father's existence during conflict. Noticing the heaviness of the topic, he swiftly apologized, noting it wasn't a tale suitable for a lady, while Alicia quietly processed his words. Alicia accepted the severe truth of the area, comparing it to her earlier brew experience, suggested a short rest, silently admiring how she tried to adapt to unfamiliar surroundings. She tasted the spring water while smiled, surprised by its refreshing quality. Described the water's purity came out of the mountain's high altitude while low evaporation. He remarked that such clarity was rare, even in the royal city, calling her name softly. Ragna described that while the territory was unforgiving, understanding it could make existence easier. He spoke of the Brave family's teaching real survival required knowing both friend while foe without belittling either. In this area, residents shaped their paths through personal resolve, fighting to guard what they understood. Alicia noticed that the residents appeared far different out of the dark tales she had once heard. Though laughter was rare in the Brave territory, Ragna reassured her that finding joy was still possible. Ragna urged them onward, claiming their goal lay just ahead, while Alicia struggled to keep pace. She questioned his contradictions regarding laughter, prompting a sly grin out of him in response. Their hands met briefly, and she confessed silently that he was unlike anyone she had known. As they reached the summit, Alicia stood in shocked quiet, gaze wide. Before her stretched a stunning landscape flooded alongside golden morning light while constant depth. Alicia stood speechless at the summit, breath taken by the sight. Ragna watched her response alongside soft pride. He confessed it was his preferred place, simple, maybe, yet deeply meaningful to him. As they settled under the trees, he offered her a small snack, sensing she must be tired. She addressed him formally, yet he softly told her not to use honorifics. Though flustered, she smiled. Noticing such customs were trivial here, Alicia hesitated, calling Ragna by name for the first time, her tone unsure yet sincere. She voiced a grave question, what one should do when choices lead to regret even following thoughtful decisions. Ragna reflected silently. Choosing one road meant abandoning another. That loss was unavoidable. Recollections of lost comrades returned to him. Some things, he knew, could never be reversed. Alongside a somber look, he asked what if nothing remained at all. Alicia confessed that her existence had always been devoted to one goal, while without it, she feared having nothing left. She declared her previous self. The Duchess, dead, that loss drove her to this isolated territory in search of something new. As demonic insects interrupted them, Ragna questioned if burying emotions was even possible. Later, Sabus advised Ragna to stop overthinking while confront his feelings as he was. Clenching his fist alongside silent determination, Ragna called out to Alicia, at last ready to respond. Alongside the sunset behind him, Ragna declared his vow to forever guard Alicia, out of now on. Alicia froze in surprise, the words catching her completely off guard. He reaffirmed his promise, calling her Alicia of the Brave household, not the duchy, while pledging to stay by her side despite her teasing. She saw through his effort while confessed his readiness was oddly endearing. Blushing, she smiled kindly, calling his words simple yet comforting, exactly what she needed to hear. Alicia asked if Ragna would still guard her, even if returning to the school meant facing hostility. He promised without delay, confidently accepting the challenge while she smiled gently at his confidence. Abruptly, a huge black worm appeared, declaring it had witnessed Ragna's vow. Ragna lightly introduced Onyx as his friend, causing Alicia to faint in surprise. Their eventful first trip concluded dramatic, emotional, while unforgettable for them both. Following their first outing, Ragna, while the lady had obviously grown more comfortable around each other. The next morning she stood shocked by the messy chamber and questioned his choice to make a vow before a worm. He clarified that Onyx, a mighty worm, dwelled far within the mountain range while meant no harm. With its blessing, the territory was freed from demonic insects, bringing comfort to the manor. Once Ragna had encountered Onyx in a violent duel, earning the creature's recognition. Alicia reflected on her earlier panic, feeling embarrassed, yet Ragna reassured her it was all right. The servants, accustomed to surprises, described that she would adapt soon enough, just as they had. While reviewing documents, Alicia silently observed the others. Despite Ragna's hesitation, she confidently offered her aid, determined to ease the workload. Together, they uncovered irregularities in finances, working together across stacks of ledgers while reports. Alicia devoted herself to sorting the overwhelming documents, her focus unwavering until the task was nearly complete. Praised by others for her capability, she remained controlled. Though Ragna mused on the difference in their worldviews, he silently noticed her soft grin now that the influence of the demonic insects had faded. Outdoors, Alicia watched the everyday tasks, observing the effort each servant put in. Rather than rest, she volunteered to aid clean the mansion, surprising everybody with her humility while resolve. Alicia declared her intent to experience existence as a human, seeking out things she had never done prior to. While others admired her enthusiasm, the butler silently placed responsibility on the youthful master's shoulders. Ragna discovered that a new weapon shop had opened the same day Alicia arrived, raising suspicion. The shop operated alongside Royal City-style marketing ordinary goods as if they were treasures. Noticing the owners might be monitoring Alicia, the butler pressed Ragna to decide how to respond. Under the shade of night, Ragna made a soft decision to act he would deal alongside the threat himself. He cautiously approached the enemy's location, alert to every movement in the silent village streets. Warned by his butler, he learned the area housed very skilled individuals out of the city. A local confessed to attempting theft out of annoyance alongside their arrogant behavior. Yet the thief's recklessness cost him dearly, his arm severed prior to he even saw the blade transfer. Ragna confirmed his suspicions those responsible could sever an arm without even pulling a blade. The attackers weren't ordinary. They were sorcerers, wielders of sorcery essence taught for conflict. He realized their objective was obvious: Alicia. She was the true target. Without delay, Ragna broke in, sending shockwaves across the enemy's hideout. Facing the group personally, he bravely reminded them they started this now. He was there to end it. Ragna confronted the suspicious visitors at the gate, quietly demanding an explanation for their sneaking around the manor. The men stood defiant, pulling their arms in front of Ragna, showing no fear despite his aristocrat position. Confident in numbers, they planned to eliminate him prior to anyone could find out. Grinning at their advantage, surrounded, Ragna remained controlled, watching their movements without a trace of panic. Alongside flawless precision, Ragna countered, ending their pride in one blow. With a sharp blow, Ragna launched his attacker across the chamber, ending the battle in a single transfer. The aftermath was soft. Defeated enemies lay groaning on the floor, unable to stand. From the shadows, a hooded person appeared, clapping gradually while praising Ragna's strength while youth. Showing himself as a magician, the hooded man stepped forward with a controlled look. Instead of threats, he quietly asked regarding Alicia's well-being, catching Ragna's full focus. A warped grin spread across the magician's confront as he dismissed Ragna's question with eerie laughter. He boasted confidently, describing how his accursed gift had ensnared Alicia, the so-called prodigy. While recollections surfaced, Ragna recognized the hooded person responsible while gripped his blade with silent determination. Leaping forward, Ragna struck alongside force, catching the foe off guard prior to he could react. Furious, Ragna confronted him, showing knowledge of the demonic insects tormenting Alicia every day. Servants praised Alicia's warmth while dedication, describing her as cheerful and adored throughout the manor. Just as the magician prepared a new blow, Ragna leapt inside action, launching a bold counterattack. Shocked by the report of Alicia's happiness, the magician trembled, unable to accept the truth. Recollections of his dark influence clashed with truth, and Ragna tackled the summoned creature personally. Despite his enemy's resistance, Ragna held steady, determined to shatter the curse's grip completely. Ragna struck violently, avenging the injured adventurer whose arm had been lost in combat. Without pause, he followed with another blow, punishing the constant swarm of pests dispatched by the foe, cornering the magician. Ragna offered a chance at mercy in exchange for the truth behind the attacks. Panicked, the man blurted out the culprit, the Duke's household, prior to trying to trigger a spell. Without delay, Ragna delivered criticism, ending the torment Alicia had suffered in quiet. Even as the defeated magician muttered curses, Ragna stood tall, unaffected while silent. He smiled faintly, entrusting Sebas alongside cleanup, stating that curses held no power over him anymore. Later, under the evening sky, Ragna voiced a worry how to keep Alicia near during their school times. Sebas misunderstood completely, leaping to awkward conclusions regarding scandalous arrangements. Embarrassed, Ragna clarified his intent. He only wished to guard Alicia prior to danger ever reached her. Under the night sky, Ragna pondered the emptiness in his heart, unsure when it began. As he walked through the soft village, he questioned whether he could truly fit at the school. Elsewhere, a letter was creature prepared with thoughtful care while crucial details. Alicia, determined to support him, made sure to gather everything he might need for the coming new existence. Though unspoken, their mutual worries silently deepened as the night silently embraced their hearts. Alicia quietly tended the garden, her hands busy alongside radishes while others watched out of afar. No longer focused on academics, she took on everyday tasks. Across them, she became capable in every aspect of household existence. Her departure saddened the servant, who couldn't hide her emotions. The servant stuck to Alicia, pleading for her to stay. Despite protests, only Ragna would attend the school. Alicia remained at the mansion, her aura accepted without objection. Alicia kindly declined to send vegetables to the school, asking they be shared at residence instead. A odd gift, a collar once worn by Ragna, was handed to Alicia for disciplinary use, leaving her confused. The wagon departed amid lively chatter, alongside servants shouting instructions while teasing warnings toward Ragna. As they rode together, Alicia admired how deeply others worried for Ragna, expressing soft envy. Reflecting on the moment, Ragna realized it was his first time ever leaving residence. Laughter packed the chamber as Ragna spent time with the servants, sharing smiles and stories before his departure. Alongside a soft farewell, he left the manor, passing through the familiar fields that stretched toward the horizon. The driver pointed out the royal city in the afar as Alicia looked on in quiet. Feeling reluctant, Ragna asked Alicia for a small favor, his look turning grave. He requested her assist alongside something basic, learning how to buy a train ticket. Alicia giggled at Ragna's plea for train guidance, amused by his inexperience yet happy to aid, joking regarding the crowded city. She teased the idea of using a collar to keep track of him. As they approached their destination, Ragna looked up in wonder, taking in the unfamiliar sight. The royal city, Ether, appeared grand, protected by a magical shield while residents to over 1 million. Walking across crowded streets, Ragna noted how compact it felt compared to his calm, brave territory. As they explored the city, Ragna while Alicia browsed shops and eyed skewers sizzling at a street stall. While walking alongside baggage and palm, Ragna asked about their dorms, relieved to hear they'd be separate. The journey continued by train, the scenery shifting rapidly. Previous the windows. Entrance brought disappointment. An old, worn-down building stood as their shared dormitory, far different out of assumptions. A letter out of Sebes revealed its isolated location, far removed from the school grounds. Alicia read Sebes's letter, noticing their poor existing conditions were part of a wider political scheme to deter opposition. Despite the dusty state of the dorm, Ragna saw potential. However, he was blindsided by a shocking message lightly showing personal supplies placed in his chamber. The letter continued, explaining the real goal was simply to ensure they lived under the same roof. To stay close to Alicia, Ragna would now need to pass the entrance exam for the upper class. Ragna reflected on the challenge ahead. Aethernam School was prestigious, packed with the nation's aristocrat children, its classes ranked by position. Entry to the upper class meant eligibility for royal connections, while others landed in the lesser class. Even common folk could rise if their talents were deemed exceptional, marked as descendants of sages. Despite the unclear structure, Ragna tried to imagine existence at the school. He would stand tall beside Alicia. No issue their origin. Ragna made a steady promise if it came down to skill, he would prove they could triumph. Upon entrance at the school, a stern tone scolded him for creature late. Facing the upper-class teacher, Ragna described his delay with a nervous grin, yet received only disdain. Other students ridiculed his pace, plainly unimpressed by his background, ignoring the criticism. The instructor initiated a sorcery test, demanding Ragna's complete power. Ragna asked regarding sorcery rules, only to be rushed by the impatient examiner to begin the test. As he prepared, the instructor sighed, plainly annoyed at having to oversee the evaluation. Focus, Ragna extended his palm, ready to demonstrate what he was capable of. Abrupt blast erupted, shaking the area while sending debris flying in all directions. The examiner stared in surprise as a huge hole pierced straight through the school wall. Shocked by the ruin, the teacher questioned Ragna's power while Ragna quietly asked if he had passed. Despite the display, the instructor declared his failure, claiming sorcery solo wasn't enough. A wooden sword was tossed his way. He had reached the next stage, swordsmanship. Victory now depended on defeating the examiner personally without assistance. Alongside sorcery band, Ragna accepted the challenge, ready to prove himself through strength solo. With a swift blow, Ragna launched the instructor backward, ending the fit immediately. Examining the shattered weapon, he noticed iron concealed inside the teacher's sword, unlike his own. He confronted the examiner, noticing the test had been rigged against him. The school principal, Vorzie Grand Cascade, appeared, raising wonders regarding the manipulation. Ragna comes to the school on the day of the transfer exam, where he is greeted by the strict director, Vorzie Grand Cascade. As Ragna walks through the hall, he feels the sharp stare of the sage, a strong aristocrat from a ducal home whose focus could spell trouble. The sage observes Ragna closely, quietly judging his aura while potential. Surprisingly, the sage declares Ragna has passed the exam. Despite wonders about standing, the sage dismisses position differences, affirming Ragna's worth. The school director offers Ragna the chance to join the elite upper class, testing his intent. While reluctant, Ragna reflects on somebody crucial to him. The reason behind his resolve, driven by duty, he declares his purpose to guard her. The director acknowledges his answer, murmurs of his background, while his fiancé's actions stir unrest among the servants. Outraged by prejudice, the director silences dissent alongside a thunderous reprimand. The director chastises a teacher, urging him to lead students properly rather than stir unrest. Ragna receives special approval to share a dormitory provided boundaries are maintained respectfully. Returning residents, he silently reflects on how that same teacher once supported the protagonist in the initial tale. A girl rushes to him alongside Worry, visibly relieved he is unharmed. Her new uniform catches his eye. Over drink, Ragna recounts the exam ordeal, quietly affirming his success despite the pressure. Curious, the girl at last asks Ragna to explain his mysterious sorcery disease. He admits it's hard to describe, though he can use all basic elements. Her stomach growls mid-believed, embarrassed by the untimely noise. She quietly clutches the melon she's holding. Flustered, she runs off, declaring they need to prepare a proper food for tomorrow. While walking together, she tells him no violence is allowed at the school. Alicia gently admits she no longer fears criticism, as long as Ragna Peace is by her side. Ragna responds alongside surprising honesty, acknowledging Alicia's strength as greater than his own. He admires her silent endurance. The ability to endure emotional pain, something even fighters struggle alongside. Confident in herself, she walks forward without shame, standing tall in a world that once scorned her. As they enter the school together, murmurs stir around them, yet Alicia walks on unshaken. A student alongside Distorted Thoughts sees Alicia's lowered position as an opportunity for his own gain. Prior to he acts, he collapses. Ragna had silently unleashed killing intent. Alicia swiftly tells him to stop later in class. Ragna shrugs off the event, questioning if everybody out of the mainland is just that weak. He remembers the story's protagonist, a radiant girl who was destined to become a saint. Snapping back to truth, Ragna confidently answers a class question. His mind now sharper than ever in class. A new girl explains a rare kind of sorcery, one without any elemental attribute, requiring a deep mastery of emptiness. She waits confidently, catching focus with her controlled demeanor and glasses. Ragna recognizes her immediately. She's the story's initial main girl. A woman entered the chamber while confirmed the student's answer, noting it was a deceptive question. Mariana Ocean confidently solved the problem, impressing the teacher while surprising her classmates. She struggled with cracked glasses and cruel murmurs from others who doubted her part as the story's main girl. Despite Creature offered a new seat, Mariana smiled while chose to manage on her own. Irritated, the teacher reassigned her to the front seat for the next change. Ragna watched quietly as Alicia frantically apologized in the classroom, her actions pulling focus. During a soft holiday, somebody questioned Alicia's odd behavior and the source of her struggles. He wanted to ask about her previous, yet hesitated, while Alicia dismissed such curiosity with a casual notice. Abruptly, an impact out of above interrupted the moment, catching both of them off guard. Debris fell violently while Alicia screamed, shielding herself as the ceiling collapsed around her. Confused, asked regarding the glowing shield. Ragna described it was a concealed shield. He elaborated that the sorcery he used was a holy shield, similar to the one protecting the royal city. Alicia was surprised that he could cast sorcery without chanting, while Ragna noted its versatility. He gave an example of how barriers are typically perceived as solid walls in combat. Alongside a smooth gesture, Ragna demonstrated chantless casting using a floating kettle to pour drink. Alongside ease, Ragna demonstrated how barriers could take any form, even guiding brew mid-air. Alicia watched in awe as the floating cup captured everyone's focus alongside its charm. Curious, She speculated that advanced barriers might allow selective passage of objects or residents. Further, noting limitations like creature unable to separate things already mixed, such as brew. As their conversation softened, Alicia shyly invited Ragna out while mentioning they were out of beans. Alicia suggested visiting a cafe she claimed served particularly fine brew. As they walked across the streets, Ragna questioned where she got her information. She recalled facing a fellow brew lover during lunch at the library who recommended the place. Ultimately, they arrived at the shop named Ocean, a comfortable specialty cafe. Hearing the bell ring, Ragna stared in surprise. Sensing something oddly familiar inside the cafe, a surprised girl greeted Alicia, seeing her immediately. Outdoors, Ragna snapped out of a daze as Alicia called for him, while Mariana looked on in confusion. Introductions followed swiftly. Mariana realized Ragna was the brew enthusiast her friend had mentioned. Though they shared a class, the two had never spoken until now. Shocked by Alicia's aristocrat fiancé, Mariana grew flustered while overly apologetic. Mariana panicked, dropping to the floor in apology, fearing penalty for offending nobility. Despite her position as the story's main girl, Ragna felt disheartened by the overreaction. Regaining her composure, Mariana confessed she spoke first while apologized for losing control, expressing hope for friendship. She had assumed Alicia was a fellow commoner following seeing her drink brew solo at the library. Puzzled, realized there was a second sage's disciple, something that deviated out of the initial game. Alicia quietly confirmed that she had acted solo, unaware of the stir Mariana's actions had caused. Mariana appeared confused, noticing she hadn't heard regarding the events surrounding the Academy's decisions. In a flustered explanation, she confessed to boarding the wrong coach, ending up far from the city. Ragna silently questioned the moment. Was it truly a mistake, or something intentional behind the detour? Lightening the mood, Alicia pointed out Mariana's magical talent, teasing her regarding her absent-mindedness. Confidently, she claimed to be gifted in sorcery, though her parents often called her useless in other areas. Alongside a somber look, she revealed their passing both had died out of illness the previous year. Though surprised, no anger lingered. Gratitude packed her words as she credited them for her current road. Noticing her lapse, she smiled and offered brew, having lost to serve her guests anything. A warm sip later, delight lit Alicia's confront as she praised the drink's rich taste. Compliments packed the chamber as the brew impressed both guests with its distinct flavor. Despite using identical beans, Ragna puzzled over why his brew felt harsher, pulling a teasing comment out of the butler. Jokingly, he called Mariana his mentor, prompting laughter while a flustered response. Gently, she confessed her surprise. Aristocrats were supposed to be intimidating, yet these two felt different. When asked regarding her discomfort around nobility, a remote memory stirred, though it remained faint while unclear. As a child, she was warned that aristocrats were dangerous. Defiance meant death. Not long following, a noble's coach struck her without notice while she was crossing the road. Lying on the ground, she watched the coach roll away, its passengers indifferent to her pain. With weakened eyesight from the accident, her household turned to brew, believing it might aid. Over time, their shared cups became an everyday ritual, transforming them inside devoted brew lovers. When asked regarding her strongest sorcery, she confidently pointed out her talent in spellcasting. Among her many abilities, healing sorcery stood out, a power rare enough to surprise everybody. In that world, few could wield such strength, yet in the game's lore, Saint Mariana could heal anything. Driven by regret out of failing to rescue her sick parents, she devoted herself to learning recovery sorcery. Just as the mood quieted, Ragna confessed he had accidentally locked the door following entering. Turmoil erupted when a loud man demanded the door be opened, barking like a dog in annoyance rather than creature upset. She quietly described she had closed shop lately to focus on her studies. On their way out, Alicia asked if she would stay in the dormitory, noting her position might exempt her. The soft warmth of her home made it feel like residence. Later, a stern official reminded her that financial support depended on maintaining top academic performance. Alongside a hopeful grin, she offered her support, encouraging Alicia to rely on her if needed. Gratitude shone in Alicia's gaze. Just hearing those words was more than enough. An unexpected plea to give her Alicia startled everybody, swiftly shut down by a flat refusal. As evening settled in, Alicia walked beside Ragna, reflecting on how kind the girl truly was. Something about her stare stirred a memory. Those gaze reminded Alicia of somebody she once met. Under the night sky, she spoke about residents with inner strength while he silently agreed. Curious, she asked if he had met somebody like that. He responded without delay. He described gaze that defied destiny, brave while captivating. Her confront flushed as they exchanged teasing remarks, sharing a light-hearted moment together. A aristocrat girl once scorned the soft commoner, casting severe criticism under winter's sky. The two stood divided, fated rivals in a cold, remote field, their roles fixed by society's labels. Time passed. Now, they sat together, sharing lunch while calm moments. Their friendship bloomed, pulling smiles while admiration out of those around them. A nearby boy watched, confused how enemies became partners so naturally. While Mariana wondered regarding Ragna's absence, she noted how devoted he was to his studies. Meanwhile, Ragna reflected on how his aura might bring criticism given his background in exile. Elsewhere, Alicia and Mariana formed in surprising friendship. Despite their initial written rivalry in the initial stage, Alicia had lost everything. Yet here, Mariana was enjoying peace. This time, Alicia realized her true opponent lay beyond Mariana, in a different dispute altogether. Alicia, swamped while defeated, looked up in confusion, unable to identify her opponent. Nearby, a silent observer reacted alongside surprise, fighting to process what had unfolded. Murmurs spread that the prince himself may have initiated the duel. Stirring further suspicion, determined to uncover the truth, one student slipped away silently across the rooftops. Out of above, he spotted the prince while the crowd, marking the starting of his search. Prince Edward approached alongside Charm, yet the girl courteously declined, bound by another promise. In the game's initial road, the prince's route was seen as the standard choice. He had been the first hurdle and easy fit meant to teach players the basics. Yet assumptions clashed alongside truth as the plot began shifting from the intended script. Unexpectedly, a new girl appeared prior to the prince, startling the observer who watched out of afar. Patricia softly corrected the prince, reminding him that titles held no weight in this calm place. Recollections surfaced as Edward recalled their first facing in the castle town. She confessed she hadn't known his self back then, but thought about their reunion at the school fete. Guided by her sincerity, Edward asked her to call him not by his standing, yet by name. Blushing, Patricia gently spoke his name aloud, Edward marking a tender shift in their connection. Both vulnerable while sincere, watching out of above, he cringed at the growing awkwardness of the romantic scene below. The girl's name, Patricia, didn't exist in the initial game. Her aura disturbed everything he remembered. He questioned herself, sensing something rare as Edward grew increasingly drawn to her. Abruptly, multiple male students appeared, each captivated by Patricia, determined not to be left behind. Realization struck every one of them was a romanceable target. Patricia had somehow entered the game's core. Patricia sat at the center of focus, surrounded by 6 elite boys, unintentionally forming a reverse harem. Even Edward confessed she might be swamped, while the others competed for her time without restraint. Patricia, composure and prepared, managed the turmoil effortlessly, offering extra provisions with a soft grin. From afar, it was obvious she had activated every romantic flag and replaced the initial protagonist completely. Observers whispered in surprise. This kind of full-route success wasn't meant to happen on a first playthrough. He decided to stay out of the reverse harem case, convinced it could only lead to turmoil. Another student quietly observed certain somebody within the group required close focus. Josei Grand Ignite, the second son of aristocrat home, chose to dine with the others instead of solo. He lightly questioned Patricia regarding a magician's suspicious activity in brave territory. Troubled recollections surfaced. Josei knew that man brought danger. Josei was formed as a backup successor, raised in isolation as a concubine's child. His storyline was a grim one made to pull players inside a web of emotional rescue. Depending on choices, he could turn dangerously shaky or remain kind while faithful. Although they hadn't met, worry rose as the Ignite household plainly had their gaze on him. To guard Alicia's calm fate, he resolved to act before calamity could take root. A strong person stood tall, cloaked in sorcery, catching the students' wary stare from afar. The principal arrived unexpectedly, while their conversation shifted toward concealed motives and rooftop risks. Seeing the opportunity, the boy spoke personally. He had a question that couldn't wait. Unnatural blonde hair, a growing harem, while unknown origins all pointed to one conclusion. Patricia wasn't ordinary, she was a reincarnator. While now he demanded the truth. Ragnar requested information about Patricia, a student alongside an unclear previous. While rumored magical talent, Patricia quietly refused any wrongdoing, insisting she passed the entrance exam fairly without secret manipulation. Later, suspicions arose following the protagonist was separated during an event, hinting at a concealed scheme. Evidence suggested the Ignite household assisted in switching the coach. The elder chose surveillance over action, allowing Patricia to stay enrolled. Ragna sighed, wishing for a calm existence away out of complications. The elder questioned his restrained lifestyle, reminding him of his youth while liberty. Rather than complain, Ragna brushed it off, explaining his part as aristocrat from the remote border. Alongside a grin, he invoked the legacy of the brave household, proud yet humble. The elder reflected quietly, acknowledging the enduring strength carried in that aristocrat bloodline. He challenged Ragna's determination, questioning the strength of his resolve. Without delay, Ragna launched a fierce punch, slamming personally inside the elder's confront. Their conflict dispatched shockwaves through the corridor, breaking the surrounding walls. Meanwhile, remote students panicked as tremors shook the school floor beneath them. Following the confrontation, Ragna stood silently by the damaged pillar, leaving the scene alongside silent conviction. A clenched fist hovered inches from the elder's confront, packed alongside restrained fury. Words followed alongside piercing intent. Alicia's safety stood above all else. Approval came only alongside a challenge to prove strength across action, not words. Scoffing at the idea of destiny, he questioned the script he was imposed to follow, unknown to him. Destiny warped deeper, dragging strong souls inside a growing spiral of madness. Signs of change loomed as students bearing strong fates began to gather. Alongside Mariana, left unprotected while weakened, a new task was entrusted to keep her safe at all costs. Her fate wasn't meant to remain within this confined world. Something far beyond waited for her. Despite her brave front, anxiety crept in as the road ahead grew unsure. Stepping inside the labyrinth for the first time, she stood beside her protector, unaware of how much more Valzé truly understood. Inside the practical practice labyrinth, students encountered live combat where sorcery theory became truth. Some leaned on others for comfort. Patricia, swamped by fear, found assurance in Edward's protective words. Out of afar, cynicism crept in. For many, this labyrinth merely served as a stage to grow closer alongside romantic targets. Beyond the social fluff, an crucial artifact lay concealed, and deception surrounded it. Confident while controlled, she looked every bit the seasoned adventurer, igniting awe and curiosity as the party prepared to transfer. Ekaterina stood alongside confidence, mocking those without aristocrat blood, while calling out a commoner's persistence. Recognition hit her. Distinct drills were hard to forget, once always seen beside Alicia. Contempt spilled freely as slurs against peasants and slum-formed students packed the air. Gaze narrowed at the claim that only aristocrats deserved to fit. Her aura challenged their pride. Dark intentions surfaced alongside a grin, offering to cleanse the school of those deemed unworthy. Unexpected tone broke the tension as the group came to a halt near the rocky wall. Descents quickened when they noticed the confrontation ahead. Alicia leading the approach alongside sharp focus. Cruel words flew as Ekaterina ridiculed Alicia, blaming her for the aura of common folk and failures. No denial came. Alicia accepted the contempt, owning her faults without flinching. Even so, she stood steady, shielding Mariana out of blame alongside unwavering resolve. Ekaterina's group issued a bold challenge, offering fights to settle any grievances. Confidence radiated as Alicia teased Mariana. Notice her that the odds were not in her favor. Insults escalated swiftly, mocking previous accomplishments while reducing them to petty ridicule. Rather than retaliate, Alicia responded alongside ease, embracing her love for brew with a grin. Annoyed while outmatched, the opposing group stormed off, swamped by the scent of roasted pride. Realization settled in quietly. Her aura confirmed what he suspected all along. Alicia apologized for getting involved alongside trouble, yet strength still radiated out of her composure demeanor. Admiration slipped out. He confessed his growing feelings, drawn to her courage while composure. Light banter followed, shielding the pain of earlier insults alongside humor while shared loyalty. But deeper within the labyrinth, an unsettling quiet and unknown footsteps suggested a new danger. Crystals glittered along jagged walls as the group stepped inside the cavern's shadowy depths. Despite her cheerful tone, Mariana recalled how traps while beasts relentlessly greeted them. Blame for creature on the front line shifted lightly, humor softening the pressure of danger. An unexpected attack imposed Ragna into motion, shielding his partners without delay. Quietly, he described the shield spell, confident even as arms hovered inches from his skin. Sorcery surrounding Ragna's body sparked curiosity, but he quietly described its limits and risks. The shield was formed from childhood fear surrounded by danger. He willed protection inside existence. Ages of practice turned instinct inside skill. Now he could deploy it without conscious effort. When asked regarding the brave territory's harshness, Alicia dismissed the fear alongside a fond grin. Plans formed swiftly. Mountain practice during summer. A shared journey that deepened bonds while promises. Practice began alongside high spirits as the group entered the Brave-style boot camp to master chantless sorcery. Excitement packed the air. Mariana eagerly volunteered, though even she confessed the sorcery still puzzled her. Curiosity turned inward as they questioned the dungeon's odd rules like vanishing beasts leaving no trace. Digging deeper, clues suggested at old sage involvement, sparking even greater intrigue. Abruptly, Mariana activated a strong circle, unleashing surprising sorcery that shocked everybody around her. As turmoil erupted, Ragna dashed forward alongside Alicia while another girl close behind. All three were drawn inside a swirling vortex, their figures vanishing into the unknown depths of the portal. They landed hard in a dark destruction, surrounded by crumbling pillars while creeping vines. Confusion packed the air. The unfamiliar cave bore signs of old construction. While Alicia inspected the structure, Ragna realized a teleportation trap had been triggered, one fitting the protagonist's unlucky destiny. Alicia intervened as the smaller girl attempted to wield a pickaxe. Despite the notice, the girl offered brew with a grin, treating the moment as if it were a calm break. Everybody ultimately joined in, sipping from warm cups in the middle of the labyrinth. Ragna silently observed them, relieved that neither showed signs of panic in such an unpredictable case. As he sipped his drink, Ragna reflected on the truth: falling to the dungeon's depths often meant no rescue. Only quiet. Ragna stood facing the group, his composure look contrasting the unease on their faces as tension thickened. Alicia voiced her concerns, noting how isolated while dangerous their case had become. Questioning Ragna's composure, alongside reassuring confidence, Ragna promised there was still a way forward if they remained calm. Rather than retreat, they chose to venture deeper, heading straight inside the dungeon's most perilous area. Studying the corridor ahead, Ragna quietly analyzed the odd sorcery circle engraved on the stone road. Alicia's previous as an enemy in the game resurfaced, casting doubt on her true essence and intentions. Despite lingering wonders, the group pressed on. A pendant smothered deeper inside was essential for their plan. Regarded as the holy artifact, the item held the power to rescue the kingdom in the final stages. The artifact was key to awakening the saint, obtainable only by following specific character paths. To retrieve it, they needed to lose the guardian guarding the door while locate the nearby teleportation circle. Ragna shared what the record stated: defeating the guardian of the deepest level might allow their comeback. Alicia pointed out the looming threat, dreading the effort it would take to confront such a foe. Their road led them to an ornate door radiating an eerie aura. Something significant waited for inside. To their surprise, no guardian stood watch. A hint of hope stirred. Maybe it truly was the exit. That hope vanished immediately. Out of the shadows, the guardian revealed itself, its huge form radiating menace. Ragna's gaze opened in alarm as Mariana stood frozen, the monstrous guardian looming behind her, acting fast. He grabbed her while leapt, obvious of the incoming flame, shielding her out of the blast. Out of the fire emerged a towering beast, its body burning like a furnace, radiating unstoppable strength. The sheer intensity of its aura shocked them, its energy blinding, like standing prior to a miniature sun. Such overwhelming sorcery could rival legendary beings, maybe a worm, or even the mythical beast Fenrir. Ragna urged the others to step back. Prior to them stood a fiend, one Alicia would later entrust her soul to. Alicia abruptly froze, her look tightening as recollections surged. Her thoughts spiraled to a previous loss, voices condemning her for losing to somebody beneath her position. Trembling, she struggled to breathe, her gaze wide as panic took hold while previous trauma resurfaced. Then, a remote tone called her name. That familiar sound pierced across the haze, grounding her once more. Ragna grasped Alicia's confront, steadily bringing her back out of the grip of her trauma. His tone calm, he urged her to look at him, assuring her that everything would be fine. Her gaze softened, confusion gradually fading as his words anchored her in the present. Following confirming their spells, Ragna instructed the others to stay behind while ran toward danger solo. Alongside determination burning in his gaze, he vowed to end the threat with his own hands. Fury in his gaze, Ragna charged toward the guardian, blaming it for reigniting Alicia's pain. As he unleashed his sorcery, the creature's body began to shrink under the pressure of his assault. Energy burst outward. Ragna sprinted alongside the blast wave, aiming personally for the heart of the threat. Moment his blow, he cleaved through the enemy's guard with explosive force while precision. Out of the side, the others watched in awe. He'd severed the monster's head. Yet another aura approached behind. The headless guardian staggered, mumbling in confusion as molten blood poured out of its neck. Yet, despite its injuries, the monster let out a warped laugh while began to regenerate with eerie ease. Unshaken, Ragna dared it to blow, charging in without delay to provoke its next transfer. Alongside a fierce leap, he slammed another devastating blow personally inside its core. Standing steady, Ragna ridiculed the creature's weak defense, calling it unworthy even of the lowest-ranked brave. The Guardian roared in defiance as Ragna's blade plunged deep inside its skull. A fiery blast swallowed him moments later, consuming the space in searing white heat. Out of afar, Alicia, while Mariana cried out his name in panic, fearing the worst. The monster reveled in the flames, declaring its command to scar everything to ash. Emerging unharmed, Ragna stared coldly, mocking the heat he'd suffered worse out of a true fire worm. Ragna stepped toward the corrupted beast, demanding to know the self of the one sealed inside. He recalled the essence of demons, formless beings bound across packs by humans seeking their own gain. The golem's quiet didn't faze him. Instead, Ragna stared, unblinking at its distorted grin. Without delay, he extended his palm, ready to read the magical signature across direct contact. A sharp pulse erupted as he struck the demon's core, unleashing a wave of radiant force. Ragna's instincts screamed as he realized the Guardian was initiating self-ruin. Alicia and Mariana braced within a shield, fighting to keep it as the explosion erupted violently. Amid the turmoil, Ragna shielded them alongside a final surge of sorcery, redirecting the shockwave outward. The ground trembled, cracks spreading as the chamber echoed alongside aftershocks out of the blast. Kneeling, bruised yet alive, Ragna accursed under his breath. Somebody had been orchestrating everything from behind the scenes. Alicia rushed to Ragna's side, worried regarding his injuries. He brushed it off, insisting it was only a scratch, touched by his promise to guard them. Alicia felt a soft warmth come back to her chest. Ragna inspected a concealed spot near the wall, prompting Alicia's curiosity as she approached cautiously. He described he'd seen a teleportation circle during the combat and exit from the labyrinth. As the girls stepped ahead, Ragna revealed the recovered artifact behind his back. The group stood in strained quiet, still processing the aftermath of their encounter in the labyrinth. Ragna silently analyzed the lingering traces of sorcery, committing its aura to memory with precision. Alongside determination, he prepared to track the true source. This combat was only the starting. Jalasis stumbled out of the labyrinth, coughing while exhausted. He had collapsed again, his outfit torn while body trembling. Patricia entered, her stare cold. She questioned him about the holy relic while dismissed his efforts as useless. Without notice, she struck him, scolding him harshly for failing the mission. Despite his apologies, she continued hitting him. Angry that even a demon's possession hadn't helped, collapsed on the floor. Jalasis gasped for air. Patricia simply asked what happened, unmoved. Jalasis revealed the cause of his failure. Ragna braved surprising interference during the mission. Patricia, irritated, recalled the man from the border, somebody meant to fade silently from the narrative. Her scheme to brand Alicia as the villainous woman had been ruined, all sense of that unforeseen interruption. Even with manipulation while threats, her previous partners proved useless, leaving her plans in disarray. Quietly yet coldly, she dismissed worry while issued a direct, unsettling command to Jalasis. Patricia asked Jalasis where he had sustained his injuries as she observed him quietly. He silently pointed to the blazes across his neck, the lingering marks evidence of a deadly encounter. While treating him, Patricia recalled the opponent, another reincarnator like herself whose blow had decapitated a man immediately. Given his self-ruin, she concluded his end was inevitable if his case mirrored hers. Alongside surprising warmth, she praised Jalasis, acknowledging his effort while calling it a well-fought loss. Jalasis expressed gratitude as he embraced Patricia, comfort softening his guarded look. She held him close, remembering his rare essence formed with a fiend like herself, and accepted him as her beloved younger brother. Looking at him alongside sincerity, Patricia offered to stand as his big sister, just for this moment. Guided, he clutched her outfit while whispered her name, needing comfort. Admitting his fear, Jalasis confessed he couldn't lose the overwhelming foe. Patricia observed Jalasis in quiet, remembering how sensitive he had always been. Kneeling prior to her, Jalasis hesitated as she demanded to know what he truly desired. In a burst of emotion, he confessed his longing for Alicia, his tone trembling. Obsession overtook reason. He envisioned keeping Alicia by force, even if it meant destroying her. Patricia quietly stated the price to claim Alicia. He must first kill the one she loved. Told Jalasis he was special while urged him to keep moving forward. Her tone packed with conviction, she softly promised to always remain by his side, offering comfort in the part of his sister. In a soft, intense moment, she leaned in while kissed him, sealing her words alongside action. Reinvigorated, Jalasis vowed to win next time, his body surging alongside fresh magical power. Alongside a composure grin, Patricia revealed the truth: he had already achieved victory. Patricia teased Jolasis, reminding him he had just been kissed by a cute girl. He hesitantly asked if that counted as a win, while she affirmed it without delay. As they returned to the school, she remarked how students thrived on conflict like this. She then noticed Ragna fell brave again, her focus immediately sharpening. Determined, she stared out the window, noticed that any interference alongside her plans would be met without mercy. Patricia stared across the glass, vowing to reshape destiny alongside her own relentless will. After enduring a severe week of labyrinth survival, Ragna, while his group emerged from the cave exhausted yet accomplished. No time was wasted. The next phase of practice had already commenced, this time within the academy's luxurious courtyard. While taking in the scenery, Ragna couldn't hide his confusion at the aura of a full-size water area in a military facility. The scene unfolded strangely, alongside students abruptly donning swimsuits, confirming again that this world followed the absurd logic of an otome game. Patricia hesitated at the water's edge, prompting both male classmates to rush forward, keen to assist her personally. While others had the poolside atmosphere, Ragna remained remote, unmoved by the so-called reward event that followed their combat. Mariana, wearing her swimsuit, approached him cheerfully while asked why he wasn't participating, unaware of his awkward discomfort. Trying to lighten the mood, she suggested drink while commented on how perfect the day was for sorcery. Her energy infectious, despite distractions. She remained focused on the few residents she trusted, Alicia, while Ragna, displaying a soft loyalty that grounded her. As a commoner, Mariana stood out, not for her power, yet for her humility while the respectful way she carried herself. Ragna walked alongside Mariana, silently pondering Alicia's absence while a few unnoticed admirers watched out of afar. Recollections of Alicia lingered in his mind, worry etching into his look as he wondered about her safety. Alicia, with a soft grin, reassured him quietly his worry wasn't needed, though she appreciated the believed. Mariana, sensing his worry, chose to stay nearby, believing Alicia could overcome any hardship without needing rescue. The calm moment shattered when Mariana was abruptly splashed in the confront, catching her off guard in the middle of her spellcasting. While Mariana practiced spring water element sorcery, Ragna warned others to stay back. An accidental splash dispatched her glasses flying. Nearby students whispered regarding the marks on Ragna's body, fueling unfounded rumors that his aura brought misfortune. Sitting solo, he sank inside self-doubt, convinced he'd never form real friendships. The belief left him feeling isolated. One soft classmate observed him quietly, their stare lingering as if sensing the weight Ragna carried solo. Unexpectedly, the classmate stood while extended a palm, startling Ragna. With an act of surprising kindness, Ragna was shocked when Jolasis lightly pulled him to sit down beside him, breaking the anticipated affair between them. Around the water area, the mood remained lively, though their soft moment stood out in contrast to the noise. Sitting together, Ragna found himself unsure. It was his first real interaction alongside a supposed capture target, while he couldn't read Jolasis at all. Trying to understand, he asked why Jolasis approached him. The answer remained vague, yet suggested its soft reluctance toward the group. With his back turned to the spring water, Jolasis at last confessed his discomfort. He simply wasn't good with it. Ragna was caught off guard when Jolasis complimented his physique, a remark that made him unsure how to respond. Looking down at his own bare torso, Ragna awkwardly thought regarding whether he should have put on a shirt, as Jolasis quietly asked about a wound. Recollections of Alicia surfaced. Her obvious scar reminded him that showing one's injuries was not a weakness but strength. As the two continued talking, Jolasis expressed admiration for Ragna's strength, impressed by the marks earned in combat out of the Frape territory. Sitting together, they shared a brief understanding. Both had suffered hardship shaped by raising and duty. Ragna, while Jolasis sat in quiet, an odd tension forming between them despite the earlier conversation. Internally, Ragna panicked, calling the case awkward while looking for aid. Even Sebas, his butler, wasn't around to rescue him. They exchanged a few words regarding the seat they both claimed, neither wanting to transfer yet unsure how to continue the moment. Abruptly, Jolasis turned and stared with a blank look, his stare calm and deliberate. Then, he asked a surprising question, one that caught Ragna completely off guard. Have you ever held hands alongside somebody? Jolasis continued with surprising wonders about love, hugs, and love, startling Ragna with their directness and emotional weight. Ragna couldn't follow the unexpected shift. Jolasis ignored all conversational course, pushing forward alongside raw honesty that left him frozen. Internally, Ragna panicked. He realized Jolasis had entered what he called the emotional phase, a turning point triggered following hitting enough tail flags. Out of afar, others noticed too. Jelasis, once remote while aloof, had started showing interest in the protagonist, asking deeply personal wonders. When confronted, Jelasis answered plainly he was simply curious regarding Ragna. That truth, more than anything, struck a deeper chord. Jelasis felt the emotional intensity rising while feared the case might escalate into something surprising. Like a kiss, prior to tension could rise further. Ragna struck alongside humor, launching a playful Brave-style rejection punch to defuse the moment. Yet Jelasis wasn't done. Without notice, he leaned forward while asked a sharp question, "What do you like regarding Alicia?" Caught off guard, Ragna could only ask what was going on. Jelasis's demeanor turned grave, shifting the mood. Then came a cryptic revelation. Jelasis declared that Ragna wasn't supposed to be here, hinting at something far deeper than love. A long pause hung in the air as Jelasis while Ragna exchanged a look. Something unspoken passed between them. Without notice, Jelasis turned away, his look blank. Ragna could only respond alongside a reluctant. Recollections surfaced. Jelasis revealed he had seen Ragna prior to in the dungeon's deepest lair. Their encounter had been no coincidence. The tension escalated when Jelasis declared his intentions. Alongside silent determination, he issued a challenge: he wouldn't allow Ragna to have Alicia. Just as the moment turned grave, they were interrupted by Alicia calling out. Ragna flinched. Confused while caught between emotions, Alicia called out to Jelasis, inviting him to practice water practice alongside her. Despite knowing his discomfort with spring water, he accepted silently. Back at the poolside, Jelasis made another blunt observation, noting that Ragna had never kissed anyone prior to. Looking out over the spring water, he confessed he had. His tone was composure as he recalled a previous loss while counted their rivalry even. Ragna watched out of afar, silent, observing the group from the edge, unsure what he was feeling anymore. Meanwhile, others celebrated small victories in the spring water. Tired out of practice, they retreated to the shade, the atmosphere light while relaxed. Irritated while fueled by emotion, Ragna sat in a soft corner, burning with resolve. His classmates wondered why he still fought so hard for Alicia. His gaze sharpened alongside vengeance. Determined, he swore to make somebody pay. His thoughts spiraling inside grim determination. Confusion followed. Others questioned why a member of Patricia's group would interfere in Alicia's affairs. Ragna couldn't make sense of it either. Yet the mystery challenger had no intentions of hiding anymore. Tired of subtlety, they accepted the confrontation personally. Turmoil neared as another bold person stepped in, threatening to summon Onyx, a worm, to wipe out enemies, until Ragna yelled at him to stop the escalation. Alicia approached alongside worry, questioning what dangerous thoughts Ragna had been muttering to himself during the commotion. Visions of rage while suppressed violence echoed in Ragna's mind, as if a monster inside him was barely creature contained. With a grin that masked his seriousness, Ragna confessed there was somebody he genuinely wanted to kill, brushing off worry too lightly. Alicia didn't laugh. She brought up recent wound reports out of his class, her tone direct while disappointed, causing Ragna to falter. She warned him plainly his actions were reckless, and if he continued down this road, their whole group's standing would only worsen. Despite Alicia's reluctant offer, Ragna steadily decided to wear the collar she handed him. He didn't hesitate this time. Clutching it to his neck, he looked at Alicia alongside sincerity, while declared, "I'm Alicia's." His tone was composure yet resolute. He had made his choice. Even as the atmosphere lightened alongside Mariana's comic search for her already worn glasses, Ragna's mind remained focused on his vow. Elsewhere, Jelasis reflected on the holy relic's significance. It wasn't just symbolic, its retrieval marked Ragna as somebody like him. Back at the water area, Ragna felt a subtle warmth out of the collar around his neck. A soft realization settled in something between duty while belonging had changed. Ragna vowed to remain vigilant, quietly committing to guard both Alicia and Jelasis from harm.